In the vast expanse of the Orion Arm, humanity's first contact with alien civilizations didn't go quite as expected. We weren't met with advanced technological wonders or overwhelming military might. Instead, we faced something far more challenging: ridicule and dismissal from the established galactic community. Look at their primitive fusion drives, the Zalaxians would say, their crystalline bodies shimmering with what I can only describe as barely contained laughter. Those tiny metal cans they call ships can barely reach 0.05 light speed. The coalition of advanced species had relegated Earth to what they called a developing civilization status, essentially treating us like cosmic children playing with toys. I remember sitting in that first diplomatic meeting aboard the coalition's massive station. As Earth's junior ambassador, I watched our delegation leader, Admiral Chen, maintain her composure while the alien representatives openly mocked our fleet's specifications. The Xylaxians, Viridians, and other species we'd encountered all possessed massive ships, some spanning kilometers in length. In comparison, our largest vessel, the ESS Frontier, was barely 300 meters long. But what these advanced species failed to understand was that size isn't everything. While they focused on building bigger ships, humanity had been perfecting something far more valuable: adaptability. Our tiny fleet had been forged in the unforgiving conditions of our solar system, where every cubic meter of space and every ounce of fuel mattered. The turning point came during the Proxima Centauri crisis. A massive solar storm threatened to wipe out the first extrasolar colony humanity had established. The coalition's enormous ships couldn't maneuver close enough to the stellar phenomena without risking their sensitive equipment. Their massive shields, while impressive against weapons, proved useless against the intense radiation. That's when our primitive fleet showed what it could do. 20 small Earth ships, led by the ESS Frontier, deployed our latest innovation: multi-layered magnetic shield arrays. The technology wasn't fancy or large, but it was incredibly efficient. Our smaller ships could dart between the solar flares, using their agility to reach the colony when the bigger ships couldn't even get close. I'll never forget the expressions on the alien diplomats' faces, or at least what passed for expressions among their varied species, as they watched the rescue operation unfold. Our ships weaved through the solar storm like schools of fish navigating a coral reef, while their massive vessels hung back helplessly. The colony of 15,000 souls was evacuated without a single casualty. The coalition's representatives, who had been so quick to dismiss us, suddenly found themselves requesting technical specifications for our shield designs and propulsion systems. It turned out that sometimes being the underdog forces you to innovate in ways the top dogs never considered. But that was just the beginning of humanity's rise in the galactic community. While the Proxima incident earned us some respect, it also revealed something that made many of the established species uncomfortable. Humans were far more capable than anyone had anticipated. Our tiny fleet had proven itself, but more importantly, it had shown that humanity wouldn't be content to remain in the cosmic kiddie pool. As I prepare this report for the Earth Defense Council, I can't help but smile at how things have changed. The same species that once mocked our ships now send their engineers to study our designs. But there's a tension in the air, an unspoken question that keeps me awake at night. What happens when the coalition realizes that our small ships aren't just good at sagging colonies? What happens when they understand that humanity's greatest strength isn't in the size of our fleet, but in how we use it? The answer to that question would come sooner than anyone expected, and it would change the galaxy forever. The tension first became apparent during the Galactic Council's annual Technology Summit on Vega Prime. As Earth's representative, I noticed how the other species would fall silent when our delegation entered the Grand Assembly Hall. Their earlier mockery had been replaced by something far more concerning: careful observation and whispered conversations that stopped the moment we got close. Admiral Chen pulled me aside during one of the summit's networking events, her weathered face showing the kind of concern I'd rarely seen from her. "They're studying our combat simulations," she whispered, pretending to admire the floating crystal sculptures that decorated the hall. "The Coalition's military observers have been requesting access to our training programs and ship deployment strategies." It made sense. While our rescue operation at Proxima Centauri had showcased our fleet's defensive capabilities, it had also demonstrated something else: unprecedented coordination between multiple small ships operating in extreme conditions. What could be used to save lives could also be used for other purposes, and the Coalition wasn't known for missing such implications. The Viridians, with their highly evolved cognitive abilities, were the first to openly express their concerns. "Your species adapts too quickly," their chief coordinator stated during a private session. "In 50 years, you progressed from basic spaceflight to developing technologies that took other species centuries to master." The unspoken message was clear. They saw us as unpredictable. Back on Earth, our shipyards were launching new vessels every month. Each one was smaller than a typical Coalition cruiser, but packed with innovations that had emerged from our need to do more with less. The new Swiftwind-class corvettes could outmaneuver anything in known space, while our Horizon-class frigates carried sensor arrays that could track objects through hyperspace, a feat the Coalition had deemed impossible for ships of that size. But it wasn't just our military capabilities that made the established species nervous. Human colonies were spreading faster than anyone had anticipated. Where other species established large, centralized outposts, we created networks of smaller, interconnected settlements. Our colonies were harder to track, harder to control, and demonstrated a level of independence that challenged the Coalition's traditional power structures. I remember walking through one of these colonies on Tau Ceti IV, marveling at how quickly humans had adapted to life on another world. The buildings were small but efficient, the infrastructure was robust yet flexible, and the colonists had already developed their own unique culture, a blend of Earth traditions and solutions to local challenges. It was everything the Coalition feared: humanity's ability to not just survive, but thrive in any environment. The breaking point came when our scientists made a breakthrough in quantum communications. While the Coalition relied on massive relay stations for faster-than-light communication, we had developed a system that could be installed on our smaller ships. Suddenly, our tiny fleet could coordinate across vast distances without relying on the Coalition's infrastructure. That's when the surveillance began. Coalition ships started appearing near our trade routes, always maintaining their distance but clearly monitoring our movements. They claimed it was standard procedure for emerging civilizations, but we knew better. They were trying to understand our capabilities to assess whether we posed a threat to their established order. Admiral Chen's response was subtle but significant. She ordered our fleet to continue their regular operations, but implemented what she called Protocol Omega, a series of encrypted directives that only Earth ships could understand. We were preparing for something, but even I, as a senior diplomat, wasn't privy to all the details. As I write this, I can see Coalition ships in high orbit around Earth, their massive forms casting shadows on our cities below. They're watching, waiting, trying to determine what we'll do next. The question isn't whether humanity will change the galactic order anymore. It's whether the Coalition will accept that change peacefully. The breaking point came sooner than anyone expected. During a routine patrol near the Epsilon Eridani system, one of our corvettes detected an anomaly, a massive energy signature unlike anything we'd seen before. The Coalition had been busy while watching us, constructing something in the shadows of the outer rim. Our small ships, with their advanced sensors, had stumbled upon what appeared to be a weapon testing facility. Admiral Chen called an emergency meeting in the underground command center beneath the Pacific. The holographic displays showed the scale of what we discovered: a facility large enough to house the combined fleets of 3 major Coalition species. "They're not just watching us anymore," she said, her voice steady but grave. "They're preparing for something." The Coalition's official stance remained diplomatic, but their actions told a different story. Their ships began conducting training exercises near our outer colonies, each demonstration more impressive than the last. The message was clear: they were showing us the power we'd be facing if we stepped out of line. What they didn't realize was that humanity had been preparing too, just not in the way they expected. Our response came in the form of what we called Operation Firefly. While the Coalition focused on our visible fleet movements, hundreds of smaller ships had been quietly positioned throughout known space. These weren't warships. They were civilian vessels, research stations, and mining operations. Each one was equipped with our quantum communication systems, creating a vast network that could share information instantly across light years. The tension reached its peak during the Centauri Trade Summit. The Coalition had demanded that Earth limit its colonial expansion and share its technological innovations for the greater good of galactic stability. As I sat in that meeting watching Admiral Chen face down the Coalition's representatives, I could see the fear behind their diplomatic facades. They weren't just afraid of our military potential. They were afraid of how we thought, how we solved problems. That's when our sensors detected it. Massive fleet movements throughout Coalition space. They were mobilizing, positioning their forces in what they thought was a subtle pattern around key human installations. But thanks to Operation Firefly, we saw everything. Every ship movement, every communication, every preparation for what they planned to be a swift demonstration of power. The Coalition's plan was elegant in its simplicity. Use their overwhelming force to isolate our major colonies, demonstrate their superior firepower, and force humanity to accept a position of subordination within their carefully controlled galactic order. By their calculations, our small fleet wouldn't stand a chance against their coordinated attack. What they didn't know was that Admiral Chen had anticipated this moment. As the Coalition fleet moved into position, our civilian network activated protocols that had been hidden in their operating systems. Suddenly, every human ship, station, and outpost began broadcasting on frequencies that interfered with the Coalition's advanced targeting systems. Our primitive technology, which they had dismissed as harmless, was about to change the rules of engagement. I watched from the command center as thousands of small signatures appeared on our tactical displays. The tiny fleet that had been mocked was revealing its true nature. We hadn't built bigger ships because we didn't need to. We had built smarter ones, more adaptable ones, and most importantly, we had built them everywhere. As the Coalition's massive warships moved to surround Earth, Admiral Chen gave an order that would be remembered throughout human space. All ships, execute Protocol Omega. The next few moments would determine not just humanity's future, but the very nature of power in our galaxy. The tiny fleet was about to show why size isn't everything, and why underestimating humanity might be the biggest mistake the Coalition had ever made. The galaxy held its breath as David prepared to face Goliath, but this time, David had more than just a sling and a stone. We had something far more powerful, human ingenuity, and the element of surprise. As Protocol Omega activated, something unexpected happened. A third of the Coalition's fleet suddenly went dark, their massive ships drifting powerless in space. Our quantum interference wasn't just disrupting their targeting systems. It was exploiting a fundamental flaw in their ship designs that we discovered months ago. The Coalition had built their entire fleet around a standardized power distribution system, making them vulnerable to synchronized disruption. But the Coalition's response revealed their own surprise. From behind their capital ships emerged a new class of vessel we'd never seen before, sleek, predatory craft that seemed to absorb our interference signals rather than being affected by them. They had been developing countermeasures, studying us just as carefully as we had studied them. The game of cat and mouse had another layer. Admiral Chen's expression remained unchanged as she received the reports, but I could see her fingers tighten around the command console. "Interesting," she said, in that calm voice that usually meant she was already 3 steps ahead. "They've learned to think like us." She opened a channel to all Earth forces. Execute pattern Sunflower. What happened next demonstrated why humanity's greatest strength wasn't our technology, but our ability to improvise. Our civilian ships, the ones the Coalition had dismissed as harmless, began moving in complex patterns that our military vessels had never shown before. Each small ship became part of a larger dance, creating what appeared to be chaos, but was actually a carefully choreographed ballet of movement. The Coalition's new ships, advanced as they were, found themselves trying to track thousands of potential targets, each moving independently yet somehow in perfect coordination. But the real surprise came from deep within the asteroid belts of nearby star systems. Hundreds of automated mining rigs, which we've been officially using for resource extraction, revealed their true nature. They were mobile manufacturing platforms, and they had been quietly producing something. They thought our mining operations were inefficient. Admiral Chen explained as small, agile drones began launching from the platforms. They never questioned why we needed so many drilling rigs or why they consumed so much power. The drones, each no bigger than a shuttle, swarmed toward the Coalition fleet like a cloud of mechanical insects. The Coalition commanders must have felt a chill when they realized what they were facing. Their massive ships, designed to battle equally massive opponents, were suddenly engaged with targets too small and numerous to effectively track. But this wasn't just about size. Each drone carried a scaled-down version of our quantum communication system, creating a web of electronic warfare that grew more complex with each passing moment. Then came the real twist. From the outer edges of the solar system, massive energy signatures began appearing. The Coalition's commanders must have felt relief at finally seeing something that matched their expectations of human warfare. But as the signatures grew closer, their true nature became clear. They weren't ships at all. They were elaborate holograms, created by networks of small satellites we positioned months ago. While the Coalition's forces divided their attention between our real ships and the Phantom Fleet, Admiral Chen revealed the true purpose of Pattern Sunflower. Our smaller vessels weren't just moving randomly. They were herding the Coalition's ships into precise positions, using their own momentum and mass against them. Like a master chess player, she had been positioning pieces for a move that was only now becoming clear. But just as victory seemed within reach, our sensors detected something massive emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the system. It wasn't Coalition technology. It was something else entirely, something that made both human and Coalition commanders pause in their tracks. As the unknown object drew closer, we realized that the game we'd been playing was about to change dramatically. The question was no longer who would win this battle, but whether humanity and the Coalition would be forced to work together against something far more threatening than either of us had imagined. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the tension. All ships, hold position. For the first time in recorded history, human and Coalition vessels hung motionless in space, united in their uncertainty about what was approaching. The tiny fleet had proved its worth, but now we faced something that might require more than just human ingenuity to overcome. The massive object approaching our solar system defied conventional analysis. Its surface seemed to shift and change, absorbing both human and Coalition scan attempts. As it drew closer, we realized it wasn't a single entity but billions of smaller objects moving in perfect synchronization, a technological achievement that made both our fleets look primitive in comparison. Admiral Chen's next move shocked everyone. Instead of maintaining battle positions, she ordered our ships to power down their weapons. Coalition command. She broadcast on all frequencies, "I suggest we stop this dance and face the real threat together." The Coalition's response came in the form of their lead ship powering down its weapons as well. In that moment, centuries of galactic politics gave way to survival instinct. The unknown entity suddenly split apart, revealing its true nature. It was a swarm of autonomous machines, each smaller than our smallest drone, but operating with a hive mind intelligence that made our quantum communications look archaic. They had been watching, learning, analyzing both fleets during our confrontation. Our battle had drawn their attention, but not for the reasons we initially feared. A transmission cut through all our communications channels, its language automatically translating into all known species dialects. "We are the architects," it began, "and we have been waiting for this moment." The message continued to explain that they were not invaders but observers, created by an ancient civilization to seek out species capable of true innovation. The Coalition's massive ships and humanity's adaptive fleet had demonstrated something unique: the potential for different approaches to space travel and warfare to evolve and complement each other. Our conflict, as it turned out, was part of a greater test. The architects revealed that they had subtly influenced both sides, encouraging the Coalition's focus on size and power while nurturing humanity's tendency toward adaptability and innovation. Admiral Chen, ever the strategist, understood first. "You wanted us to reach this point," she transmitted to the architects, "to see if we could overcome our differences when faced with a greater challenge. The response came as a series of images showing hundreds of failed civilizations that had destroyed themselves in similar confrontations, unable to adapt or cooperate. What happened next transformed the galaxy forever. The architects shared their vast knowledge database with both humanity and the Coalition, but with a crucial twist: neither side could access all the information alone. The technical specifications were split in such a way that cooperation wasn't just beneficial, it was essential for understanding the advanced technology. Our tiny fleet and the Coalition's massive ships began working together, each compensating for the other's weaknesses. Human ingenuity combined with Coalition resources created something entirely new, a hybrid fleet that could adapt to any situation while maintaining the raw power needed for major operations. But the architects left us with one final surprise. As their swarm prepared to depart, they revealed that they weren't the only watchers in the galaxy. Other ancient species had created their own tests, their own observers. Our successful cooperation had opened the door to something larger. Humanity and the Coalition would face more challenges together, each one testing our ability to combine our strengths in new ways. Admiral Chen stood at her command console, watching the architects disappear into the void. "Well," she said with a slight smile, "it seems our tiny fleet just helped reshape the galaxy." The Coalition representatives, who had once mocked our ships, now approached with newfound respect, eager to learn from the species that had helped them pass this cosmic test. As I record these events for future generations, I can't help but appreciate the irony, the very qualities that had made us seem primitive to the Coalition. Our adaptability, our tendency to think small and agile rather than big and powerful, had proven to be precisely what the galaxy needed. Our tiny fleet hadn't just survived. It had helped usher in a new era of galactic cooperation. The universe, it turns out, has a sense of humor, and somewhere out there, other tests await, ready to challenge this newfound alliance between the practical and the powerful, the tiny and the tremendous, the adaptive and the absolute. 5 years have passed since the day the architects revealed themselves, and the galaxy has transformed in ways none of us could have imagined. The integration of human and Coalition technologies led to breakthroughs that benefited both civilizations. Our tiny ships now serve as rapid response units within the larger Coalition fleet, while their massive vessels have been retrofitted with our quantum communication systems, creating a defense network that spans known space. The colonial expansion that once threatened to spark a war has become a joint venture. Human ingenuity combined with Coalition resources has allowed us to terraform worlds that were once considered uninhabitable. Our small, adaptable settlements work in harmony with their larger, more established outposts, each complementing the other's strengths. Admiral Chen, who masterfully led us through the crisis, now serves as the head of the newly formed Joint Fleet Command. Her office, overlooking the massive shipyards of Mars, stands as a testament to how far we've come. The same space that once built our tiny fleet now constructs vessels that incorporate the best of both worlds, Coalition power with human adaptability. The architect's database has yielded discoveries that have revolutionized our understanding of the universe. Working together, human and Coalition scientists have begun to unravel mysteries that neither civilization could have solved alone. The requirement for cooperation has forced both sides to overcome centuries of prejudice and mistrust, leading to friendships and partnerships that would have seemed impossible just a few years ago. But perhaps the most significant change has been in how we view ourselves in the cosmic order. Humanity's rise from a dismissed, developing civilization to a crucial partner in galactic affairs has taught both species valuable lessons about assumptions and potential. The Coalition learned that true strength comes in many forms, while we learned that sometimes the best way to prove yourself is not through confrontation, but through adaptation and cooperation. We've detected signs of other tests scattered throughout the galaxy, just as the architects promised. Each discovery brings new challenges and opportunities for our combined fleet to prove itself. The once mocked human ships now lead many of these expeditions, their size and adaptability perfect for investigating the unknown while supported by Coalition power. Recently, we received a final message from the architects, encoded in a way that required both human intuition and Coalition processing power to decipher. It spoke of greater challenges to come, of tests that would push our alliance to its limits. But this time we faced them not as rivals, but as partners who understand that diversity in approach and thinking is our greatest strength. As I finish this account in my office aboard the Joint Command Station, I can see ships of all sizes moving through space below. Human vessels weave between massive coalition cruisers in what has become a familiar dance of cooperation. The sight reminds me of something Admiral Chen said during the integration ceremony. The galaxy didn't need another civilization trying to be the biggest or the strongest. It needed someone to show that being different, being adaptive, being small but clever, could change everything. Our tiny fleet did more than survive. It helped create a new way of thinking about power and progress in the galaxy. As we prepare for whatever challenges the universe has in store, we do so knowing that size truly isn't everything. Sometimes, the smallest ships can cast the largest shadows, especially when they work together with those who once doubted them. The stars stretch out before us, infinite in their promise and mystery, and somewhere out there, other ancient watchers observe our progress, waiting to see what this unique partnership between the practical and the powerful will achieve next. Our story isn't over, it's just beginning, and this time, we face it together, tiny ships and all.